What's up, everybody? Talking about the three great games we're going to have on Thanksgiving. Other games to come and a video to follow, but right now focusing on three games on Turkey Day. A lot of great action here. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to keep getting this content. You're going to want to see the rest of the games in Week 12 and comment and let me know what you're taking. Starting with the first game on Thursday afternoon, we get the Lions coming off a comeback win against the Bears, hosting the division rival Packers that are coming off a somewhat surprising win to the Chargers at home. You see here the over-under is 47, Lions favored by a touchdown. You're going to expect to see really a 27-20 game is what this thing is predicting. I personally don't think the Packers put up that many points. I know they look solid against the Chargers. That Chargers defense is not as good as this Lions defense. I'm not saying it's much worse, but it is certainly worse. And I think the Lions, they kind of got a scare of the Bears game. I think they're about to wake up. I was expecting the Lions to have a letdown game against the Bears. I'm actually surprised they even came out and won it in that fourth quarter. But after such an emotional game against the Chargers, I wasn't surprised to see the Lions struggle. I wasn't surprised to see the same for the Chargers against the Packers. Now, it's a short week, and especially in short weeks, talent comes to play much more than anything else, not as much time for preparation, etc. There's no question about it that this Lions team, especially with the way they've been playing this year, is more talented both with the eyeball test and on paper than the Packers team. And specifically at quarterback, Jared Goff, former #1 overall pick, has looked really good in this system. And I think a lot of credit goes to head coach Dan Campbell, but even more so offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. He's done a great job with him, that offensive line, the running backs, the wide receiving core, everything that offense is humming. And for the Packers, it's almost the exact opposite. Jordan Love, who had a great first game against the Bears, has really been lackluster ever since. And I personally don't think he's going to come out here on Thanksgiving and play that great of a game. The over-under scares me. I could see the Lions lighting up this Green Bay defense and having a bounce-back game, one where you don't see Jared Goff throw 3 picks like he did against the Bears last week. So I think if I had to lean on anything, 7.5's a lot for a divisional game, especially on a short week, and the Lions certainly are tired. I think I lean that way, but as I'm talking, because the Lions has played a very emotional game 2 weeks ago and a very comeback win against the Chargers, and the same kind of thing against the Bears, you can only string together so much that these guys have been playing for every second of all 4 quarters, never taking their foot off the gas on both sides of the football, and that certainly weighs on a team. I could see that playing a factor here in a short week, but I certainly like the Lions to win, as I think their offense is much superior compared to the Green Bay offense and what I've been seeing from them. I think I'd take the under, if anything, because you think the Green Bay offense is going to struggle. We already said that. I don't believe in Jordan Love right now. Maybe next year, who knows, but it's certainly not put together at this moment. Give the Packers defense a chance to stand up against the divisional opponent, and the Lions, who have been running on full speed with that offense by necessity for the last 2 weeks, maybe they take a step back here and catch their breath on a short week. I think you take the under here on Thanksgiving. Another divisional matchup between the other team that plays on every Thanksgiving, the Cowboys hosting the Commanders. Cowboys, who started out the season looking like a juggernaut, have gotten back to form as of late. Offense is clicking, defense is clicking, everything is looking really good for this team. Commanders, however, took a step back as they were 10-point favorites last week against the Giants and lost outright to them, even at home, albeit against a divisional opponent. But a third-string quarterback and Illini legend, Tommy DeVito, for the Giants there. Inconsistency has been the name of the game for really both these teams, but much more so for the Commanders. You look at some of their losses and they look terrible offensively with Sam Howell in that offense not getting many yards per play, the run game really lacking, and Howell finding himself in trouble and throwing interceptions. When they win, Howell and that offense are really humming. Running backs are getting it going. You're definitely seeing guys like Robinson out of the backfield catching the ball, Gibson as well. But then you get guys like McLaurin at wide receiver and Sam Howell really connecting and making that offense go. And so this is really the tale of two coins here for the Commanders. Which team is going to show up? Part of me thinks that after such a tough loss, even on the road, but on the spotlight of Thanksgiving, that they do show up in some capacity. Certainly the defense that I still believe in, despite the exodus of players that they had at the trade deadline. For the Cowboys, I said they're to a lesser extent somewhat of that same story. They have looked great in the games that they've won, especially as of late. But in the games they've lost, they've looked pretty subpar. I'm thinking specifically about the 49ers game, which you can argue is a great opponent, but also against the Cardinals, even though that game was on the road. So if you're trying to decide what's going to happen in this game, you really don't know which team on either side of the football is going to show up. I have to believe that the better version of each team show up here. And I do think, it's not an outlandish thing to say that the Cowboys are going to win this game. I think 10.5 against a divisional opponent is a little steep. You just saw it against the Commanders and Giants last week. Commanders, at their track record, said they were much better than the Giants. The Giants' track record said they couldn't beat anybody in the league. Commanders were at home with the 10-point favorites. They ended up losing the game outright. I'm not predicting the same fate for the Cowboys here, but I do predict it to be a competitive divisional matchup, as they usually are, and especially on Thanksgiving. So expect this one to be a little bit closer. I think I would take the under here as well, and I think I'd take the Commanders at plus 10.5 with the Cowboys winning. Finally, the last and potentially best game of this Thanksgiving slate, the primetime game with the Seattle Seahawks facing off against the divisional opponent, San Francisco 49ers. Right now, both these teams are looking playoff bound. With the Seahawks, they could have a much better record. They were just able to beat the Rams. 2 of their losses this season are against them, and they're looking prime for another loss against the divisional opponent this week. I think it's a really interesting matchup because in terms of Pro Football Focus grade, both these teams rank in the top 10 for total offense and total defense, which is pretty significant. The Niners hold the edge up over both those sides of the football against the Seahawks, but do not discount the Seattle Seahawks and how much talent they have on the other side of the football, especially from some of their young guns. For me, you had the Seahawks just lose to the Rams. They're looking for a bounce back win here at home against the divisional opponent, whereas the 49ers have been rolling late, coming off the bye in 3 losses, steamrolled the Jags and steamrolled the Bucks, looking to do the same against the Seahawks. I'm not too sure in the spread here which one I like. I think I would lean to the 49ers based on the way they've been playing. Again, dominant offense and dominant defense, really commanding the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football. You have to love what you've been seeing from them. I think this line is very fair. I think, the 49ers win this game either by 6 or 7 points. I think it's a great spread, and I think this over-under is pretty spot on too. This is one game where I hesitate to even put out a lean at all because I think it's so tight both ways. Divisional opponent on the road for the Niners being the favorite. A lot can go wrong there. And more often than not, you're a favorite on the road. It's a little bit tighter game than it should be on paper just because of how things going and how things play out season after season against the same team over and over, same coaches, same players, same personnel. Couple that with the fact that this is a Thanksgiving game under lights, the whole nation watching you. It seems that both teams come out really fired up, ready to play. And I've seen so many more upsets on Thanksgiving than I can recall in most weeks. And I think for that reason, again, not picking the Seahawks at plus 6.5, but just saying don't be surprised if this game's closer than it is. I think this over-under is going to be right around that 43 mark, 44 mark. I think this is one of those lines that is so true. It's just don't get hooked one way or the other. I think I would think that this game ends up being like the Niners 24-20, 23-20, something like that. Close game with the Niners pulling it out with their superior offense, the run game. Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk looking great, same with Kittle, and the dominant defense led by Fred Warner. A lot of good stuff here. Shorter card today, as there are just 3 games on Thursday, and that's about as much as we can handle on Turkey Day. Don't forget about that new Friday football with, I think, the Jets and Dolphins. But really, just take a moment to enjoy Thanksgiving, eat some great food, and watch some football. That's what the day is all about. I'm getting really excited for it. Hope you guys are too. Hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving and Week 12 in the NFL.